So yesterday I told you that we were going to be starting matrix logic puzzles. Okay, so that's why we did the Sudoku. Today what we're going to do is actually a true matrix logic puzzle that I was referring to. So a matrix logic puzzle, it's kind of hard to say. A matrix logic puzzle uses a grid or a matrix to help keep track of your deductive reasoning. So if you remember back to your deductive reasoning, it's when you make a statement and back it up, right? Like you're trying to convince somebody you're right. So there's a little bit of a method to this madness here that I'm going to teach you how to use. So when you see matrix logic, and they give you, oops, let me zoom back out. They give you a matrix that looks like this. We're going to follow a process where we use O's to show that something is true and X to show something is false. All right, so we're going to go through, and there's still even a little bit more to it that we're going to add, and I'll highlight that for you as we go. So here's an example. This is a very simple one, but I wanted to kind of show you the process with this one first. It says 3 friends, Arnold, Eric, and Peter, are all different ages and were born in different months. Use the clues to determine how old each boy is and in which month they were born. All right, so here's our clues. The first one says Peter's birthday is in April. All right, so we find Peter and we go over to April. So right here, we're going to put the letter O. Now, I'm also going to put a little 1 down here because that 1 tells me I got that information from clue 1. So this helps like if you're trying to backtrack a little bit, or if you're trying to figure out if you answered or if you use that clue, or if you're trying to explain it to somebody else. Now, if Peter was born in April, that means that Eric could not have been born in April, and Arnold could not have been born in April. That also means that Peter couldn't have been born in January and September because he's already been born in April. All right, so this is what I was talking about yesterday with Sudoku, was that we have to look up and down, left and right to eliminate possibilities as well. Now, something I like to do is fill in a table with this information too, because sometimes you can work back and forth between the table and the matrix to fill in blanks that you're unsure of. Or it doesn't necessarily pop out to you in the matrix, but it does in the table. So I'm going to go down to where Peter is, and his birthday we determined was in April. So I'm going to fill that in. All right, I already took care of clue 1, so now let's do clue 2. It says Eric is 7. So if I find Eric and 7 years old right here, this has to be an O. So I'm going to go ahead and put an O with a 2 because this is clue 2. So if Eric is 7, that means Eric cannot be 8 or 9. And remember, they all have different ages. So that means Arnold cannot be 7 and Peter cannot be 7. So again, I want to go down here to Eric. Eric, we know, is 7. Next, this is Arnold was born in September. So Arnold was born in September. So I'm going to go over to September. I'm going to put an O for that, and this is clue 3, which means then Arnold could not have been born in January. And then Eric, if I follow Eric over, he could not have been born in September. So we know Arnold was born in September. I'm going to fill in my table. Okay, so now something you can see is that, like when we were doing with the Sudoku, in this row here, I only have 1 open box, and I have to have somebody born in January. So I now know that Eric was born in January. So Eric down here is going to be born in January. All right. And then it says Peter is 8. So if Peter is 8, this is clue 4. That means Peter cannot be 9, and it also means that Arnold cannot be 8. All right, so we know Peter is 8, which really, now we have 1 missing blank in our table. Again, this is a nice thing about the table because we literally have not filled in anything down here. We're going to in a second. I'm going to kind of show you how that goes back and forth. But Arnold's age, I can tell just from my table, has to be 9. Okay, so Arnold has to be 9. But one thing you can do too, if you have 2 of these, notice it has September and 9 years and Arnold. So if it has Arnold 9 years, it has to be September down here as well. So it kind of makes that L. Okay, so every time you can match them up, it ends up making the L to match up with going in all directions. So it's a duplicate of information, the birthdays and the birthdays here. All right, so we'll go ahead and fill in this bottom part here. So January birthday, January we know has to be Eric, and Eric is 7. My April birthday is Peter, and Peter is 8. And then finally, my September birthday is Arnold, and he's 9. So all of these would be X'd out then. All right, so again, this is a very simple one, but I really wanted to show you the kind of the method that we use in terms of putting O for true and then X for false to help us eliminate possibilities. We also put a number down here by the circle, the O, just so we know what clue it came from. Okay, so next, what you're going to do is you're going to give this a try. All right, so this is the biome logic puzzle. I'm going to have the substitute pause the video. Okay, so I'm going to have the substitute pause for maybe 5 to 10 minutes. They can kind of judge on how long you need or until you get stuck, basically, or if you're completely done. Notice there is a table down here. I would go ahead and list your students in here already. So go ahead and put Daphne here. And put Stuart, DJ, Beth, and who we have? Charles. Go ahead and fill that part in, and then we can match up the biome in the presentation. Okay, your clues are over here on the right. Okay, again, try to go through and go left and right. And then honestly, sometimes even when you get to the bottom, I have to go back up to the top and start again. Reread those clues. All right, so go ahead and pause the video. Then when you're ready, you can restart the video, and I'll talk you through all of this. Okay, hopefully you've had enough time. So let's start going through this. And again, I'm just going to try to talk you through my logic of it. It doesn't mean it's the right way, it's the only way, it's one way. All right, so here's the first clue. One of the girls was assigned grasslands, but one of the boys did the slideshow. Okay, so down the bottom, it does make a note that Daphne and Beth are the girls. Okay, so one of the girls was assigned grassland, which means if I go to the grasslands, right, if I go to grasslands, which is right here, it can't be Stuart, DJ, or Charles, because those are the boy names. Okay, so it can't be, let's see, Stuart, DJ, or Charles. And I know all of that from clue number 1. I don't know which girl it is, but I do know it can't be those 3 boys. Then it said one of the boys did the slideshow. So slideshow cannot be a girl. So I know Daphne is a girl, and I know that Beth is a girl. Okay, now we can read into this a little bit further too, because one of the girls was assigned grasslands and the boy did the show. So the grassland can't have a slideshow. All right, so if I find grasslands and I follow it down, it cannot be a slideshow. So I can eliminate this box right here, again, because of clue 1. I also know that the girls could not have done the slideshow. Oh, I already marked that one, sorry. Okay, so then next thing, clue 2. We did clue 1. So clue 2 says the first 3 presenters were as follows. Charles, the one doing the coral reefs, and the student who created a brochure. Okay, so now they're not really asking us about order, but what this is telling us is that Charles, the person doing the coral reef, and the person who created the brochures are 3 completely different people. So this means that Charles could not have done the report on the coral reef. So I can find Charles and coral reef and mark that off. I can find Charles in the brochure. So Charles in the brochure and mark that off. I can find coral reefs in brochure and mark that off. So find coral reefs, follow it down to brochure and mark that off. All right, so Charles couldn't be any of those, and then the coral reefs in the brochure can't be together. Clue 3. It says DJ enjoyed researching the rainforest. Okay, so here's an answer, right? So DJ did the rainforest. So let's find rainforest. DJ did do the rainforest. That is clue 3. Okay, which means DJ could not have done the desert, the tundra, or the coral reef. All right, so I'm going to go down to where DJ is. And DJ did the rainforest. Oops, I can't spell rainforest here. There we go. DJ did the rainforest. Okay, and then it said Stuart's diorama was amazing. So Stuart did a diorama. So let's go to Stuart and diorama. That's going to be a circle. So that's number 3, which means that Stuart then could not have made a poster, a slideshow, a clay model, or a brochure. So Stuart did the diorama. And then it says the sand and his cactus were really made it realistic. Okay, so Stuart did a diorama about the desert. So I can make Stuart and desert. Here we go. I know Stuart did the desert. Again, that's all from clue 3. Okay, now let's finish filling in a couple things here, because while I did go sideways for Stuart, I need to finish Stuart could not have done the rainforest, the Arctic, or the coral reef. We need to think about going vertical here too. So going back to DJ, if DJ did the tropical rainforest, nobody else could have done the rainforest, right? If Stuart did the desert, nobody else could have done the desert. And then over on the right, if the diorama was done by Stuart, nobody else could have done it. All right, so now think about, we know all of Stuart's information. Stuart was in the desert making a diorama, right? So we have the desert. If I follow this down, that means the diorama here has to be true here. So this also has to be an O because of clue 3. Which means then I can fill in my X's going sideways and up and down in that small section. All right, let's go to clue number 4 next. It says the clay model of the coral reef was astonishing. All right, so that means that clay model and coral reef have to go together. So coral reef and clay model have to go together. So I'm going to put that O there with a 4. Okay, and I know I can then cross out these 2 boxes. Now, the problem is I don't know who the clay model or the coral reef goes with yet. I'm just going to make myself a little note down here that the clay model goes with the coral. Because later on, I'm going to be able to fit it into one of these, into this table somewhere. I just need to remember, once I get one, I can have the other. All right, clue number 5. Clue number 5 says, Charles worked hard on his digital slideshow. So Charles had the slideshow. So Charles had the slideshow. Oh, and you know what I just noticed as we were doing that? Notice under Charles, there's only one option left here, right? We've X'd everything out except for the Arctic tundra. So we know Charles did the slideshow. And we know Charles had the Arctic. All right, so let's clear out columns and rows here if we can. So there's that column for Arctic tundra. Oh my goodness, I can't even say it. Tundra. And then slideshow I know has to be Charles, so we can block off DJ there. And we can block off horizontally under Charles. Okay, now we know Charles, all of Charles information, right? So the Arctic tundra was a slideshow. So oh my gosh, tundra, I need to go this way, has to be a slideshow. So it has to be this one right here, right? So I'm going to make an O right there as well. And that was from clue. Well, we kind of followed that across. So I can X this out. All right, and now let's go number 6. Beth went after the person doing the coral reef. Okay, so first of all, that means Beth could not have been the coral reef, right? So I'm going to go up to Beth. I'm going to cross out coral reef. It's number 6 there, right? So that means Beth had to be the grasslands. Beth has to be the grasslands. I'm going to fill that in down here. All right, and so now let's fill in that column there. If I look at that column, I can cross off Daphne for the grasslands. That means Daphne had to have that coral reef. Okay, now remember we read this little side note here. That means that Daphne had to have the clay sculpture. All right, so, or that clay model. So Daphne has to have that clay model, so I can cross off the poster and brochure. And now let's go vertically too, because now I know clay model, coral reef. Nice, it matched up down here, right? Because we knew that was coming. All right, so we have just a couple left here. It says Beth went after the person doing the coral reef. Okay, so if we go back up here, the student who created a brochure, we know it can't be Beth because we have the clay model. Good. All right, so let's fill in our table up and down. We need to go back down to this block down here. I see I have an O in the slideshow one here, so I can X out this way. I also have an O in my clay model. I can X out horizontally. So now I have a brochure and a poster left here, and I have DJ and Beth. I also need to block out my clay model here. Okay, and back to this clue again. No, wait, this clue right here. It said, 6 said Beth went after the person doing the coral reef. All right, so the person doing the coral reef, then the next person is the one who made the brochure. So Beth had to make the brochure. All right, so Beth had to make the brochure. So I kind of got that from clue 3 and 6, so it doesn't really matter which one you put there. But that allows us then to fill in, Beth made the brochure. Okay, so that allows us to fill in our table horizontally and vertically, which means DJ was only left with a poster. And we can finish filling in this bottom matrix if you want, or you can leave it blank. It's up to you. We can leave the holes, or we can go through and fill it in. Beth made the brochure for the grasslands, so this would be an O, which means the poster there has to go to the rainforest, which again still does all fill in our table. All right, so this is the idea of it. Tomorrow you're going to do one of these on your own. But today I wanted to go through 2 of them with you just so you can see the process. And I'm trying to, again, verbalize. I know it's not easy when I'm not there, but I'm trying to verbalize to you my thought process. The next thing you're going to do in Google Classroom, I have an assignment posted for you. You're going to play another Sudoku today. Okay, you have the website to go to. It's all built in there. Get that done. And then I want you to go into Progress Book and check your grades, because a lot of you are missing assignments, which is crazy because you can get online and do most of those that you're missing. So go ahead and work on the Sudoku and then work on any of your missing work.